Hey friends! Those who've been with us for a while would remember the storied saga of videos covering the then impending release of Project Cars 3. I expended no small effort in categorically covering every aspect of what I perceived to be an impending bait and switch intending to disrespect the intelligence and goodwill of the thousands of sim racers whose early crowdfunding efforts made the series possible in the first place. Looking back, a year and a half later, while it might seem like beating a dead horse, I find it's important to reflect on one's past perspectives as part of incorporating them into a wiser, more integrated self. This is a key aspect of quality controlling our own perceptions and becoming better people over time. Yeah, no. This is basically an I told you so video. One of the things I often like to tell colleagues is that while I may not have been born with many skills or talents in life, one of the few gifts presented was the ability to read systemic patterns and motivations. This turned out to be quite lucky, as this is one of the ways one can offset being skillless while still wanting to succeed in life. It also provides a very valuable BS detector. When I saw the marketing signaling regarding Project Cars 3, I knew exactly what was facing us. It was a company that, in lieu of doubling down on their semi-successful Project Cars 2 and fixing the litany of bugs, balancing issues, and general quality assurance that their community were begging for, decided instead that they were going to ride the coattails of the rising prominence of their series name in order to water it down to then market it at a broader audience. The company encountered a critical pivot point. They could either, 1, do right by their players, double down on Project Cars 2, get to work, grinding it out and creating one of the top sim racing titles in the world, alongside the likes of iRacing or the later Assetto Corsa Competizione. Or 2, they could focus solely on the balance sheets and, after having tasted sim racing, now wonder how they could get a cut of that sweet Need for Speed, Gran Turismo and Forza money. Well, history shows how Slightly Mad Studios management chose. Now, that's one thing. In and of itself, deciding to create a racing game with broader commercial appeal isn't intrinsically dishonorable. What's dishonorable is gaslighting your loyal user base into thinking that this product, clearly not intended for you, was going to blow your mind all the same, and that if you didn't enjoy what you were seeing and hearing, that the fault lay with you and you alone, because most people don't want tire wear, pit stops, or cars that actually behave like cars. Basically, they were trying to play both sides instead of just coming clean and admitting, hey everyone, thank you for the years of support, but our next title is going to be something for a different audience. We hope you enjoy it all the same, but if not, there's no love lost, and in time we may come back and create a sim racing title again. That's it. That's all you need to do in order to retain community faith. All but the most hardcore of sim racing elitists would have understood that on some level. They then could have pledged to continue maintenance support of Project Cars 2, and instead of placing Project Cars 3 as a direct sequel, simply remove the 3 and call it Project Cars Sprint or something that would imply the game would be an offshoot rather than a direct sequel. Voila! Expectations managed. See, I don't think it was necessarily the lack of quality of Project Cars 3 that buried SMS, but rather the disingenuous nature of how they communicated with everybody. They set up a situation that they could never win. The hardcore sim racers were never going to enjoy Project Cars 3. It's objectively a worse title than Project Cars 2 in almost every single way when seen from a sim racer's perspective. Conversely, nobody in the casual racing scene cared about their series. All of their needs were already being met by Gran Turismo, Forza, and Need for Speed, depending on the level of casualness they prefer. Project Cars 3 wasn't offering anything new that these other properties didn't already deliver. That's a killer for any product. You must have a point of difference in the market, especially if it's a hyper-competitive market, to create any reason for consumers to buy your product instead of your competitors. Slightly Mad Studios didn't do this, all the while crapping on the people who had supported them and their product up until that point. Impressively, it was a foolproof self-destruct strategy, and those of us with even a modicum of sense could see it coming a mile away. So, if you're one of those people who called it early, pat yourself on the back and know you have good insight. Lord knows the world's going to need more people like you where we appear to be headed. The thing that pains me here is that, having played Project Cars 2 and Automobilista 2 at length, it's clear that there are some immensely talented people working at Slightly Mad Studios. The potential of the Madness engine has always been there. You know that the moment you have a wet race and get sent aquaplaning over the track after hitting a puddle the wrong way, or having the car you're trailing pick up some gravel that's lying on the track and launch a stone at your bumper which bounces off with a satisfying clunk. You know it as your endurance race gradually emerges from night to day, the tarmac dries off and heats up, causing you to chase puddles, desperately trying to keep your wet tires cool before being forced to pit for slicks. Project Cars 2 showed us a glimpse that one day we may just have realistic races with emergent strategies at play, rather than the tired old hot lap fest that the aliens always win. These are the sort of details only created by people who are passionate about sim racing. The devil is in the details after all. With Reese's work on Automobilista 2, using the same madness engine which powers the entire Project Cars 2 series, we're seeing some of that potential finally realized. Imagine if the original developers, who implicitly know the ins and outs of said engine, were actually given the time, direction, and resources to flesh it out into a proper simulation. This is one of the most devastating things about Project Cars. The realization that in another reality, with a few decisions called differently, we could have seen another top-tier contender in the sim racing space. Instead, we have 2 half-formed racing games and 1 shameless cash grab. I would bet my bottom dollar that there were more than a few people at SMS who felt like their soul was being traded as they were directed to work on Project Cars 3. That's ultimately the kind of decision that only management with input from the financial department makes. There was nothing creatively underpinning that title, and it was so obvious that most of the player base realized it before they turned a single lap in the game. So with that, I want to say, it's sometimes important to trust your gut instincts in these situations. We all want to give everything an equitable shot, and that's a noble inclination, but it's often used against us in the modern day. Just look at the state of mainstream media. Ultimately, if it looks like a clown, honks like a clown, it's probably a deranged middle-aged man looking to steal your kids. We have negativity bias as a species for a reason, and it's because it's allowed our ancestors to survive long enough to pass their genes on to create us. Those who led with goodwill tended to get eaten a lot more. So, until next time, keep up the healthy skepticism, call things as they are, both good and bad. Smash that subscribe button for more veiled innuendo about the deteriorating state of our society, and I'll see you all later.